Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome to another Marvel's Avengers build video, and in this build video I'm going to be featuring to you guys Jane Foster, also known as the Mighty Thor, and this is going to be a ranged build that you guys can use in any content that's currently in the game. I know a lot of you guys are probably telling me right now, why did you go with a ranged build and not a melee build? The reason I went with the range build honestly is just to be a little bit different. Just want to showcase to the world that her range build is actually pretty OP as well. She does have similarities with Thor in terms of her range build. However, I'm actually having more fun using Jane Foster's range build compared to my Thor range build. And you guys have seen the clips on how OP her range build is as well. So let's get this build video started. You guys know the vibes. We're going to break down the stats, the gear, the skills, and then showcase to you guys a demonstration of this build. Let's get it started. Let's go. Alright everyone, before I go into the stats right now of this Jane Foster range build, I do want to mention that this is a version 1 type range build. The reason why I'm saying version 1 is this build is going to get a lot better as we continue getting that power level up. Right now my power level is at 154, and when you guys were watching those clips in the beginning, my power level was actually at 150 when I soloed that super adaptoid. So this build is going to eventually get a lot more OP as we continue getting her power level up and also getting the better gear and also with the better perks. So don't pay attention too much to stats, because again, it is going to get a lot better as we continue to, evolve this build. And eventually in the future, I will be putting an updated range build video out there for you guys. So with the range build, you guys want to pay attention to about 3 stats. That is the range stat, the heroic stat, and the defense stat. With defense, you always want to make sure you have a decent defense, especially when you're on any character that's in this game. If you don't have high enough defense, you are going to get one-shotted by certain enemies. Sometimes you can avoid, certain enemies by dodging and weaving. However, if you have defense, at least you might be able to take a hit or two. The next is range rating. When it comes to this range build, you want to make sure you do have a high range rating. And also, the next part is the heroic rating. You guys already know heroics are based off of valor, so you do want to make sure you have high valor. And then also with the range rating, what I'll mention is when you're running, any type of missions in the game and you are looking for gear to start off with this range build, make sure you're looking for precision and valor. And then with defense, there are certain pieces that'll have precision, valor, and resolve. You want to make sure you do have that, because resolve does help with your health. If you do end up coming across like resilience is like armor, so you can go with precision, valor, and resilience, precision, valor, resolve, one of those attributes. But again, with this range build, you want to make sure you focus on the range, heroic, and defensive rating. Here is a quick breakdown or a full breakdown of the entire stats for this range build. If you guys do have any questions when it comes to anything about this range build, let me know in the comments below. So that was the stats. Now let's get to the fun part, like always, the gear and where to get the gear. Time to get started with the gear, so let's go ahead and start with the artifacts first. So the first artifact is the major artifact, and there are 3 options that you guys can use when it comes to the major artifact. First one is the Sacred Nornstone of Lethal Will, which is a popular artifact that I use amongst a lot of my other builds. But this one helps with increasing duration of your damage buffs and also a 13% increased critical chance when a damage boost is active. Really good for high DPS numbers. The second one is the Tachygen, great for status damage and also to apply a lot of status damage on enemies. The third one is the Ring. I'm not even going to pronounce that last word, but I'll try. The Ring of the Nibelung. This helps with getting intrinsic orbs, heroic orbs, or regen packs. It is very random, so when you do activate this major artifact, there is a chance that you can get a heroic or intrinsic orb. The heroic orbs will help you recharge your heroic abilities, whether that's your support heroic, assault heroic, or ultimate heroic. And the intrinsic orbs help with your overcharge meter. But again, it is very random, so just keep that in mind. Now to the minor artifacts. And also, sorry to mention, the major artifacts, you can actually get this when you complete the campaign and complete certain mission chains. This is how you'll be able to get these certain artifacts. Now back to the minor artifacts. I'm using the yellow ISO 8 with triple Valor stats. Comes with a support assistance. What that basically means is it increases your heroic energy regeneration for your support heroic ability. And then it also comes with the second perk that is actually pretty useful for your range attacks, and that is Powerful Breaker. 11.3 increased damage from power attacks. So this actually applies to range power attacks. And this artifact right here, you have to check every day, but I actually got it from the Pacific Northwest Outpost. Sometimes you might see it in the Anthill Outpost as well, but check every day and you'll one day come across the Pacific Northwest Outpost having that yellow ISO 8. So that's the ISO I'm using. So with this build, I do prefer to use like a Valor ISO, whether it's 2 Valor or another like a Cosmic Surge with precision, proficiency in Valor. That can also work. Cosmic Surge minor artifacts, you can get that from the Omega level threat mission once you defeat the Super Adaptoid, or you can continue farming vaults and opening DNA chests, and there is a rare chance to get those type of ISOs with those stats. And Cosmic Surge also helps regenerate your heroic abilities. So that is the first minor artifact and also alternative that I've given you guys. The second minor artifact that I use, I love this one right here. It's a Nornstone of the Bulwark. Comes with Might, Valor, and Resolve. I do wish I can replace that Might with Precision. Maybe one day down the road I will have a Precision, Valor, and Proficiency ISO. That is like a God Roll type ISO for a ranged character. But the reason I'm using this is it comes with a Pinpoint Vibranium payload. So anytime I'm using my range power attacks, I can activate a Vibranium payload that will apply a Vibranium status effect. This is really good, especially when you're doing battery damage, and when I get to the range piece, I'll explain a little bit more of the battery damage with using this minor artifact. To get this minor artifact, it actually is getting easier now to get this. You just have to wait for a certain event to come back. Right now, while I'm filming this video, it does come from the Corrupted Vibranium event. You definitely want to make sure you farm any Corrupted Vibranium threat sectors, and at the end of the mission, there is a chance where you can get that minor artifact with range attacks. Or if the event is over and you're unable to farm during the event, you can continue either running the raids, and the raids that I'm mentioning is located in Wakanda. You can run the Discordant Sound regular raid, or eventually, once you get your power level up, you can run the Elite raid that will appear. There, the reason I'm using this is because of the first perk and the second perk. The third perk is honestly not working at this time when I'm filming again this video, but the first perk, 3% increased willpower and heroic regeneration while overcharged. So again, overcharge means is when your intrinsic meter is fully charged, and you'll see it like kind of flashing. That's what happens when you're overcharged. Second, ultimate lethal shock explosion. So your heroic ultimate ability, when you're defeating enemies with the hammer, it creates a shock explosion. And with Jane Foster, her ultimate heroic is extremely OP. It's so amazing to use as well because it's a little bit different from the other characters, but it's also similar to Hawkeye's Hunter Arrow. But I'll explain that more when we get to the skills. So Griddle of the Allfather, Rampant Supercharge, Ultimate Lethal Shock Explosion. And if you do want to know about the God Blast assistance, so when you hit enemies with a God Blast, you'll basically have a chance to drop an intrinsic orb, and that will help fill up your intrinsic meter. And right now, this other part of the perk is not working. God Blast overcharges teammates in range. I've tested this out. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. Hopefully, they do end up fixing this. Not sure why it's broken, but we know what happens sometimes in the game. But good piece to have. And to get that piece, you guys can actually run the Elite Villain Sector. So it can be any of the weekly Elite Villain Sector missions. So make sure every week when you do end up getting an Elite Villain Sector objective, you run that. Come with Odin Force Assistance, so that's basically Jane's support ability. Then you can also have increased stun damage from hammer attacks, and then Warrior's Fury. So sorry, Odin Force is basically her, R2 when you're charging and, doing that. Warrior's Fury is her support heroic ability. So that's another heroic piece that you guys can use if you want to use an alternative. But this is the one I'm currently using right now. Hopefully when I do end up running the Elite Discordant Sound Raid, I might come across some new heroic pieces with some different perks. But again, that'll be for a future video. Moving on to defense. So we're using the Discordant Battle Plate, Valor, Precision, Resilience. Really good rolls right here on this gear. The reason I'm using this is because of the Reverberation Breaker. The Reverberation Breaker, so when I'm applying that Vibranium Payload, I'm hitting enemies with my other, with my range attacks, I will do a 25% additional damage to those Vibranium inflicted enemies. So I got this from actually the Discordant Sound regular raid, and you can also get it from the Wakanda Corrupted Vibranium event. So when you're running missions like, well, not missions like this, when you're completing mission chains from the Corrupted Vibranium event, for either Jane or the entire hero card that you have, like the main objective, you will have a chance to get that defensive slot. But if not, you can run the Discordant Sound raid every week to have a chance to get that defensive slot. An alternative that you guys can use is you guys can go with the reactive buff that you can farm in any missions in the game. Just make sure it does have precision, valor, and maybe proficiency. But I like using this just because of having that minor artifact with the Vibranium Payload. There's also another defensive slot that you guys can use, and this actually comes from the Elite Vaults. And this one, it's decent, but it doesn't, do a lot for your stats. It does bring them down. So, but you guys can check the perks out right there. This either drops from the Elite Villain Sector or the Elite Vaults. But again, I recommend farming the raid for this in the meantime or using a reactive buff. So that is a defensive slot. Now with the range piece. So with this range piece, it's a targeted buff grip and it applies sonic damage, which is a cold status effect which works well with your Vibranium Payload to do battery effect damage. And then with Jane, she also applies shock damage automatically. So you basically have 3 status effects when you're going with this range build and attacking enemies. Targeted buff, that helps you with your damage buff. Sonic proficiency, range power attacks deal sonic damage. Lethal targeted buff, defeating an enemy with a range critical attack has a chance to activate a damage buff as well. precision and proficiency. Wish I had precision and valor and proficiency. However, this will do in the meantime until I get that better gear. To get this, it's actually very easy. You can run any of the missions in Wakanda to see if you can get like a range piece with Sonic and with the targeted buff. Or you can visit the Wakanda vendor, and there is a chance every day that he might have a ranged Sonic piece with a damage buff. So make sure you guys do check that out. Alternatives, if you don't want to use a Sonic range piece, you can go ahead and use like a Gamma or Cryo targeted buff. But I personally recommend using Sonic because it will also help with your heroic charge rate. Because if you are in the proximity of your Sonic range attack, and it is because with the Sonic status effect, that actually helps you recharge your heroic rate. So that's why I kind of prefer the Sonic range power attacks. But if you want to use another cold status effect, you guys can go with the Gamma or Cryo. So it's up to you. So that's where you get that. The next piece, this is just for the stats, honestly. Valor, Precision, Might, Light Combo, Finisher, Signature Attacks, whatever. This is a melee piece that I got from the Discord and Sound regular raid. And again, you can also get it from the Corrupted Vibranium mission chains for your certain characters or the main objective. This is just for the stats. Hopefully, I can come across a piece like this. Or sorry, where is it? Something like this, but with precision. Because the third perk right here, Ultimate Blessing Breaker, 25% increase to All Mother's Blessing. All Mother's Blessing is Odin Force basically, while your ultimate, All Weapon, is active. But this doesn't come with precision, that's the reason I don't use it, so I'm using this in the meantime. And again, when I do end up running the Elite Discord and Sound raid or other, end game content missions, I'm hoping to get a better perk on my melee slot with Valor and Precision. So that is a breakdown of all the gear, and I know it's long like always, but I will be putting timestamps along this video so you guys can skip to any part of this video. And if you do have any questions, like always, let me know in the comments below. Now let's go ahead and check out the skills that I use for this Jane Foster range build. Alright everyone, we are at the skills part of the video right now, so before I break down the primary, specialty, and mastery and the champion system, make sure you are at level 50 to unlock all the skills in the primary, specialty, and mastery to utilize this build. So make sure again you are at level 50. So now going into the primary skills, I'm just going to quickly go over certain things within these skill trees. The first one is hammer skills. Something I actually found out unique for Jane was she actually has something a little bit different from Thor when it comes to her range power attack, and that is enough for all. When you're throwing your range power attack, you can actually hit up to 5 enemies, something that Thor doesn't have in his skill tree. Another one is Seek and Pin. Seek and Pin can actually be an annoying ability because if you're trying to destroy, let's say, a corrupted vibranium crystal or environmental objects and the enemies around it, you'll actually hit an enemy instead of the object if you use a range power attack. To avoid this, make sure you're just using a range attack and not doing a wind up and throwing a range power attack. ability, and you'll be able to activate a payload. So again, going back to the gear, that's why you guys see me using the to the champion system. I'm just going to explain to power attack build. And before these enemies kill me, hit them with one more God Blast. Bang! It's snowing intrinsic orbs. Alright, let's reset this harm room and end the video. Pretty self-explanatory when it comes to using this range build. But you guys saw those perks activate, you guys seen the damage buff, you've seen the payload. It's amazing to see that ultimate heroic ability do so many things. So that is the end of this Jane Foster version 1 range build video. I will eventually do a version 2 build once I do get better gear. I won't go in depth about it just like this video because it's just more about going to be the gear that I'll be explaining. But if you do enjoy Marvel's Avenger build videos like this, make sure you show your support by hitting that like and subscribe button. Until next time, you guys stay safe. I'm out. Peace.